How are you? So let's record one new BCBTrust uh, Chapter 80 today. The funny thing is that right at the restaurant where I am right now, they're playing the song "Oops, I Did It Again." So that's me right now. Why am I here? Why I'm doing a new video about the Bring Civilization Back to Trust, now Chapter 80. Exactly because what can you hear? I don't know if you can hear here, but look. Oops, I did it again. I'm letting on. Get lost in the game. That means yes, I did it again. I started to do business again with Brazil, and that's why I was not um, following my lawsuits and recording Bring Civilization Back Trust videos because I joined new ventures again with Brazil. So now I have more invoices to collect past due payments. And they are a bit more serious now because now they involve projects in the Amazon, they involve projects for power plants, so it's like more large scale business plans, and that's why I thought did it again to your heart, that's why I thought I was not doing it again. I thought I was doing something new because it's a different quality of people, but no, it was the same. It's not the term that I was defrauded, but there is cross-cultural issues or definitely big issues between Brazil and America. So again, I'm part of that. I was raised in Brazil. I speak fluent Portuguese, and usually that's my scope of business is import-export between Brazil and the United States. The relationship is really spiced up right now, and so I have issues again, the same as always. And to make it even more complicated, I have a week ago a new supplier now from furniture people, high-end furniture produced in Brazil by an Italian company. Then contact the same thing, starting shipments to America. Well, that's my scope of business, what I do for a living, but the reason of this chapter today is just to make sure people understand about what is section 301. I have it printed here with me. Look at that. It's funny because I'm kind of cheering about it. Like I'm looking at like, wow, this seems like fun to me because I was like, because it has happened because I have so many issues with my businesses between Brazil and America that I mentioned mostly that I am a victim of force majeure. Force majeure means when you have problems that they are too large to handle. The most easy example to understand is a hurricane, for example. When you have a hurricane, my business is established in Florida, right? Florida is susceptible for hurricane season. So sometimes you have some hurricanes that are super strong and you cannot go to work, you cannot go do anything. That's force majeure. In my case, my force majeure was related to the internet problem that since WhatsApp became so popular, I cannot control the information. I have also issues about people forcing me to work online, and forcing me to work online means that I am more limited and it's a higher risk business to me. And to make it even more complicated, Brazil is always causing the same problems as always. The last important problem I had was a company in the Amazon rainforest. They hire me now. That's something fun now, and I believe on that. Like employers in Brazil, they're hiring people as partners. You are their business partner. As I have a company, I have accepted, so I was working with them as a business partner. But what happened? What happened? by the time of closing deals for real happened, I was not a business partner anymore. I was a simple employee. So they told all the conversations, they were completely different. They were done in such a way where I was a simple employee, and that's completely different perspective because I have invested even funds from my own pockets, assuming I was a business partner, not assuming I was an employee. If I was an employee, it was a completely different story. So what they did was bait and switch. That's a scam. That's fraud. No matter what, then we go into establishing and putting things on real concretes, like okay, this is what you do, and then I send obviously my termination contract, and I say okay, you just pay these fees, and then and then again I'm on those endless circle. So the positive news is that now that Donald Trump has included Brazil on this list, it's called Section 301. It's a trade act. It was established 1974, and it's not for every country. Only countries that they have a problematic or challenging business relationship with the United States. That means trade, okay, business, import, export, shipping products from Brazil to the United States. And I've been reading about it, and I can tell that it is serious because other countries, for example, Nicaragua, they are there on Section 301, but specifically about labor rights. Even China, that's all over the news now, it's specifically about, I think, labor rights, copyrights, about two, three. When it comes to Brazil, the list is huge, okay? So it's 6 points, okay? The one is about, I have my notes here. Let me see my notes. So one is fraud on online payments. That's how I interpreted it. Okay, they have nicer words on the section 201. And another one is discrimination and unfair import trade, because the country of Brazil does that. They do discrimination, especially against U.S. based companies. Like it's international law does not allow companies to do or countries to do that. I mean, so they do that a lot. That kind of discriminates. So they make the whole country can do this business with Brazil, but the United States. So that's discrimination, and usually America does not do that against other countries. And the other one is the failure fighting against corruption in Brazil, like failed on the protection of intellectual property, which is the one that I am a victim of in the case L615 that's been disputed for 9 full years now. My brands are registered in the USA, they were copied in Brazil, and it's still the case. So I am a victim myself of intellectual property. I'm robbed all the time. In Argentina also, but in Brazil it's more like common practice. Like in Argentina they would, but I think it's like anywhere else, they will understand that doing something bad. Usually in Brazilian culture, they simply copy and paste whatever is sent to them, and they take it as normal, and that's an issue, you know. And the other one is illegal and discrimination on business of ethanol with biofuel. And another one is a failure in the fights against illegal deforestation. So that's also a problem, like illegal deforestation. And in my case, I'm adding slavery. South America in general does not have a traditional for middle class services. There is a lot of endless problems related to labor rights, not only in Argentina, all across South America and Latin America. Usually it is a lot of troubles, and Brazil is one of them. So that's what I think we should be at. Because I believe most of all, that's why it's so complicated. That's my personal opinion. I'm adding to it. It's because South America does not have middle class. So as they don't have middle class, there are even a South American say that when you tie things way too tight with your holes, usually it escapes from your fingers, through your fingers, so that That's as usually business people here, they do not pay for labor, then people end up stealing, and then you have all these confusions because you have this always this control. It's not there's not much peace when you go to work. For example, I was studying labor law in Argentina, for example, because I was studying like Argentina. Most people they work illegal, like they're not registered. People are not like, why is everybody lying? Because in Brazil they do. And then I was studying the labor jurisdiction in Argentina, for example. In Argentina, uh, once they created the constitution, they simply put an article there that's called Article 15 that says slavery does not exist in Argentina. Period. Like it simply does not exist. So no matter if you believe you're being victim of slavery in Argentina, you won't go anywhere because there's no jurisdiction because the constitution simply says that slavery does not exist. But in my opinion, it does exist because a lot of Argentinians they work for free. They do not get any payment. That's also one of my challenges working the Argentinian market because I put price on what I do and usually it's sales, commercial sales and marketing and usually Argentinian employers they just put a stop and hold because they're not used to that. They're used to just say that they'll pay you later or whatever, you know. And even I say, but look, there's cost of sales. Like they say viáticos in Spanish. It's like if you want me to sell something, there's some costs involved on the process of selling that. They do not pay even for that. And then I was checking the labor law here, and because not as an employee but also as a businessman, once you have an environment that's used to pay for labor law, you can't pay for a contract as a because once I put a contract, then they want why if I get it all for free in Argentina, why I'm going to pay you, like so that's an issue. And then I have studied what the legislation says in Argentina about what does slavery mean in Argentina. Slavery in Argentina is specifically about you being incarcerated and traded as an object. So that's the current legislation in year 2025. So Argentina has always been like that. The only case that you can be considered a slave in Argentina, which is also in South America and close to Brazil, is if you are working under an incarceration and traded as an object. If someone buys you and sells you to someone else, okay? Which yes, it's an aspect of slavery, but that not necessarily is the full concept, right? If you're working for free, you're being enslaved. If you're not getting any payment, you are being enslaved. If you're getting paid less than what you need to survive, you are being enslaved. Okay, so that's super common practice in Argentina. It's one of the reasons, okay, that I continue to work online through my company in America. Okay, basically because I don't get any payments from the offers I give in Argentina. Okay, but going back to Brazil, in Section 301, I believe this is super positive. To be honest, if really, I think it's too recent. It started just July. It's about 2 months ago. The first hearing was in September, and even the ambassador of Brazil in Washington D.C. was present there at this hearing. I read the hearing. It's available online. I'm going to write in the comments there the links. It's all public. You can go there and read entirely. And I believe Brazil, maybe it was just the defense attorney who doesn't instruct them to act that way to gain some time, but I believe that was a bit disrespectful against the United States Trade Representation, United States International Trade Commission, because there's a lot of work involved, and also my perception about the United States is that usually process like that they take several years to be accomplished. I do not believe this was just now about Donald Trump. I believe this has been a while that this has been there, being analyzed and studied, and it was finally approved and made public like in July. And there is history of a lot of problems between Brazil and America for several years. And I also believe this is going to last for a long time. I do not believe these first actions are going to just cancel this and go back to what it was before July. And then when I have read the hearings, and then, for example, the ambassador of Brazil, which I believe was the most important figure that was present there at this hearing, what he did was injeção de linguiça, as they say in Brazil, because he spoke a lot of marketing, publicity, and things about Brazil. And I do not believe that was the tone of the hearing. That was a hearing, and using the terminology investigation, that means criminal law. And he should have done more of a defense attorney attitude, but they went there marketing Brazil as a good country, as a big country, as a powerful country, as a beautiful country, which is fine, but that's more for a diplomacy, not in that situation. I believe it did not help. I think the reaction would be the bad, because it sounds like a scammer. Like, sounds like you're missing the point. They're doing something very specific about very serious accusations against Brazil: corruption, fraud, and intellectual property theft. And then you go there and you tell everyone that Brazil is a beautiful country, that Brazil is big, that Brazil wants to do business with the planet. I mean, that doesn't sound. I don't think it sounds good, and I think it was a mistake. But but then on my perspective, that I have conducted business between Brazil and America, and it's always problems, and I have my own problems. All of them are unsolved. I have several problems, including intellectual property. They're all my channel here: L810, L615, and now the L106125. All there, like, fully reported to the authorities, both in Brazil, both in America. And I'm waiting for solutions. Never gets us a real solution. If I tell about the perspective of Brazil, I do get sometimes calls I got some calls. I even got a letter from the president of Brazil once saying that he received some paperwork that was about it. He just know that he confirmed that he has received some paperwork. That was a few years ago. I also got a call from the commercial department of the Brazilian embassy in Washington D.C. once. They saying that they agree with me. They think they fight for fair trade. All these beautiful words, but again, no solution was implemented. So then I believe that now that Brazil is asserted on Section 301, maybe all these problems are going to be taken seriously, and they're going to be addressed properly, and to have a solution case by case. I have a lot of cases. Maybe if I really put them, if I really talk to everybody I have spoken in 25 years doing businesses between Brazil and America, maybe be more than 25, 100, 200 companies, even more than that. But I have some firm cases of success, of shipments of millions of dollars that I was shipping out of Brazil to third countries. Also possibilities of doing businesses in the USA. I have also, for example, neighbors, for example, and the institution in Miami where I opened my business, which is called Apex Miami, Agência Promotion Exports Brazil and Miami. And I have neighbors there. That was not me, but I have neighbors there that they have imported a full truckload or even 2 truckloads of plumbing materials made in Brazil, and all the plumbing was in centimeters, not in inches. And so I do have a lot of cases. I have a lot of cases because they come to me, they want to do business in America, and then I say, you need to do a manual, you need to do the FTA approval, you need to pay. I have cases, for example, loading Brazilian-made expensive furniture in North Carolina, that they were asking for $400 to load those containers, and then I have exhausted like a couple hours of negotiations with my client in Brazil, who was the owner of those furniture, and the maximum I got was $200. And then The result is then once this furniture arrived in California, they were all destroyed. They were like in bad conditions. Why? Because these American employees, us, he paid the half of what they asked. They worked the half of the time. So it was 4 hours. They did it in 2 hours instead of paying for 100 or 200, and then the product got damaged. And things like that. And I have other examples as well. So I believe it's a good thing now that everything's monitored. And the only thing is that if you're doing business with Brazil, if you're traveling to Brazil, um, I mean, about what I see, it means that now the American authorities, they have a total possibility of checking you, investigating you. That's what it means. It does not mean you're being punished, but it's being investigated. It means if you're calling to someone through WhatsApp and it's a Brazilian phone number, maybe that call is being recorded. That's how I understand that, because it says full investigations on everything related to Brazil. And because even in even in the United States, if you want, I believe, okay, if you want to, that's my comments, okay, because I'm not a police officer, okay, but if you want to investigate someone, you need a reason for that. And there's some paperwork that has to be addressed. Like a judge needs to request someone to be investigated. It's not that simple that the government just goes and investigates everyone. But now that Brazil has been included on Section 301, I believe everything in Brazil is under investigation. So, and I think that's the only country that I see that for investigation. I'm not even sure if China is in the same situation. And so that's it. And I hope this gets better. In my particular case, I have already offered help through the communication means available, because there's a phone number there's an email, so then I send an email to them, and I even mentioned to the police in Miami that all my files are available for investigation. In my perspective, I'm more of a victim, so I appreciate these new regulations. They may be better to me because it is a case of force majeure. I do not have power to really, and there's a demand, because I have so many people asking to do business between America and Brazil, and I have like this furniture company that contacted me about a week ago. It's not working, okay, because I'm president. I continue to talk to all those companies, so it's kind of I contacted them for something else, and then we went there. So that's not that they reached me, but I do have cases that I was reached by the L1018. The gentleman found me online, and he did contact me with that offer. It caused me a lot of problems in his case, which is this late for billiard tables. Alexandre Almeida, that one is since 2019 being disputed, like 6 years without a resolution. And but they want to do business in America, and then I send them the package, and I tell, look, this is how we do business in America. I also have clients. I have these clients in California, clients in Florida. Please, I believe you need to set up $50,000, $100,000 costs for me to reopen this opportunity and restructure, have personal meetings with people that they require personal meetings, and I would do this. So I send the offer, and it's a company that's trying to do business in America for 20 years now, that I have been part of it as well. But again, once I insist, their response was, oh, let's do a call and give me the phone numbers of your clients. And I'm like, no, that's not what I offered, okay, but I did, because these clients are so old that they're kind of my friends, so I answered, I copied my clients, and I said, okay, so I answered back with by email, and then I added these two, one in California, the other one in the East Coast, and then I added them, and then I said, okay, continue of the offer, but still, and then they're silent, So again, maybe force majeure, and also I think these new restrictions, they are very recent, But I believe it's in a good way, a good path now, the right path now. This is in my issue. This is the terminology I'm using to talk to my clients. I say, look, now it's time we have a paved road. This, including Brazil on Section 301, this means, in my perspective, that the road now is paved and that America is doing what Brazil is not doing for their own citizens. So it means that if you are serious, if you are honest, if you have a good product, if you are interested in adapting to what America has to offer, and I think you're going to be good because you're going to be selected, you're going to be able now, I think it's going to be a good reshape because a lot of serious people had abandoned the American market in Brazil because they only see problems, and then serious people, they wouldn't try to be doing business in America. So now with this regulation, believe it may come back to be serious, and it tried to be serious for a period of time. Okay, but it'll take a while. It will take a while. So I mean, it's not that quick, and I believe this is not going to change. Also, some people believe that this is just a no Trump intention. In my personal perspective, I believe in this case, both Democrats and Republicans, they do agree on leaving Brazil there in Section 301. I believe Donald Trump had the balls to face it and put it in practice, but I do not believe that if the next presidential government is going to be Democrat, that they are going to simply ignore, because this has already started, and I think it's going to continue for a while. My opinion about this kind of legislation in America is that it may last for maybe 10 years more, 20 years more, unless Brazil does something very serious, which is not what I have witnessed so far, including my own problems, because I have communication. For example, the projects in the Amazon rainforest, they are serious. There is this global convention in Belém, the COP30, COP30 in Belém, Pará, Brazil, and they reacted just like any regular common business people in Brazil, like denying. They do things like they send attorneys, but these attorneys are threats. They are twisting the story, like the same as always, the same kind of problems as always. So I believe it will take a while really to adapt. One of the issues, because between Brazil and America, is that both countries are big, and both countries they have a very domestic way of life. And usually, in my perspective, what happens to Brazilians when they do business in America is that they take America as a kind of a version of Brazil, but with no fences, no fences, no walls, kind of a Brazil with no security, like an all-you-can-eat buffet of anything you want to do in life. And wealthy neighborhoods of Brazil, because Brazil does have a lot of similarities with the United States. And that's what I understand, because they go to America and they start doing everything they want as if they were in Brazil, and usually there is a lot of surprises once they realize it's not. And also, like, they're most adults, so usually this international immigration and international relations, sometimes they're kind of complicated because people are always concerned about the visas, but then they go into a new country and they kind of do not have access to proper education or whatsoever. But then it comes people like me that I try to explain, but I am ignored, boycotted. There are people in Miami saying that this is just blah blah blah, that this is just for the show, that the Section 301 is never going to be implemented. I mean, there's all sorts of people there. I do not believe in that. And actually, that's me, okay? I work officially, okay? So that's what's official, that's what I follow. That's my personality, that's who I am. And Well, but anyway, that's our new news. This is something new. 2025. I'm on this business for over 20 years. I have lived in Brazil. I have lived in America. I have a business in America. I worked in Brazil a lot. So falo português fluente. So I'm on expectations. I kind of more happy than sad. So I don't know. I hope it manages to help me to fix all these problems I have. Okay. So thank you for being here and stay tuned on the Bring Civilization Back Trust Chapter 80. It's been uh, 5 years on this. I'm following now a channel called The War on Beauty from a girl there in Los Angeles, and I think it's kind of the same vibe as myself. She's on beauty, on the looks of art, and I am on the business, but it's kind of related. The war on beauty. In my case, Bring Civilization Back Trust is kind of an answer to the war on glamour, education, politeness, marketing. If you see my first videos, I am explaining why doing sales and marketing years ago used to be much nicer than it is nowadays. Okay? Okay, inviting customers for dinners and things like that. It was fun. Okay, like about 20 years ago, it was really fun. It was a very good job. Now I got stuck on computers and phones. My best friend, right? A phone, like anyone else in the whole world nowadays. Okay, so well, see you all later, and greetings here from Rosario, Argentina, where I am physically at the moment, working remotely, but globally. All right, in English mostly, but I do also work in Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian. All right, Augustin here. Have a great time. Have a great day. If it's the morning, have a great evening. If it's evening, have a great afternoon. If it's afternoon, and thank you for being here. And let's stay positive. Better days will arise.